Well, I had somebody in the office, I don't know, 6 months ago, sent in a ticket and said, "Hey, can Power Automate Flow, can it kick off a Python script?" Well, I had several people jump on the chat and were saying, no, you can't do it, or it's very difficult to do it. And I took that challenge and I said, no, I don't think it's as difficult as people think. So what I'm going to show you today is that Power Automate can actually trigger a Python script, and just the opposite, Python can trigger Power Automate Flow. So you're going to get these slides afterwards. We won't have to go into this too much, but going to show, like I say, the flow to the Python automation, and then a Python back to flow. Why would you want to do this? One of the things I can think of right off the top of my head is if you've ever worked with CSVs or Excel files trying to manipulate stuff with just a flow. Of course, you can do it. You can dig it. It can get pretty hairy with all the different steps you have to use. But Python excels at working with CSVs and Excel files. So you can trigger whatever you need to with your flow, and then you can have Python do all the heavy lifting in the background. Another thing I use, you can have Python trigger a flow that communicates with Dataverse. So then grab data out of Dataverse and do a lot of cool things with the Python side, just because now you have the data. And it's just a simple, it's basically just showing Python script can communicate Power Automate Flow, there's the bidirectional arrow. So the very first thing we're going to talk about is how Flow can trigger Python. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the flow, and what it's going to do is I'm going to trigger it by sending an email using the when an email is received trigger in a Power Automate Flow. It's going to grab the body out of that and then push it to a OneDrive folder that Python, coincidentally, I've got it wired so that it's watching for arrival of a file. And demo time.
You're telling me a Power Automate Flow can trigger a Python script?
Absolutely. Watch this. And processed.
Well, I'll be. That actually worked.
Like clockwork.
All right, color me convinced. You're telling me a Power...
Okay, so we're gonna actually go into the flow and everything, but this is all that it's doing. So again, I mentioned that when a new email arrives, that's the trigger. I've got a specific subject filter there. That's why, if you've used, I'm sure some of you have used Power Automate flows. This will limit what actually triggers it based on that subject filter. I'm grabbing the body of the email from the action above, and then because that has all the HTML tags in it, I strip it out using the action HTML to text. And then I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to actually create a file, just a text file that has the body of that email in there. So here's the email I'm actually going to send. I'm going to send it now. Well, let me actually show you the Python script so that you can see that some of this it's not all magic. There's stuff wired to it. Not smoke and mirrors. Put that over here. You see down here in the bottom, there's nothing there. I'm going to go ahead and send that email. We can get that back out of the way. It'll take it a few moments. We can watch the flow run maybe after, see how fast this happens. But this is Python tkinter app that I put together yesterday, just so that we can, for this demo. And you see it's polling down here. No jokes yet. Hasn't seen any yet. Go check the flow. Yeah, so there's Yeah, we don't have to see that. It's watching for that. It saw that that email came in. It created there's the body of that. It converted it just to the text portion. So it's just a joke. That was what was in the email, and then it's created the file over in a particular OneDrive location, and I'm not actually seeing it over there. So that's interesting, showing that it created it. We
Well, we
may
see the
just move.
results. Yeah, we
Yeah, yeah,
believe you. We do.
yeah, yeah. So I'll move on to the next section. So when it runs successfully, it looks like this. So the Python script, it actually creates like a pre-joke, and then this is what actually would came over through the email, and then I have a final joke just to kind of keep things light. Okay, so next, so that was the flow triggering Python. Now we're going to have a Python trigger the flow, hopefully a lot smoother than before. So we're going to run a Python script. The flow is going to be triggered, and then
And run.
Wait, are those flow icons?
Straight from Python.
You can't trigger our automation with a script.
Watch me.
Okay, that's actually happening.
Told you, flows love snakes.
okay, so we'll go take a look at that code real quick. So you use when an HTTP request is received, and one of the things that the Python script is going to pass in, it's going to pass in an email address, and it's going to pass in a name, an email address, and a message, and then it'll send an email based on. But I'm going to be triggering that with the Python script. So the Python script is this one. Very, very simple. We'll run that. I'm using a library called Faker that it fills in, makes up a name. I am going to need to use a real email address so that we can see the email address, or see it actually do this. And now flow triggered successfully. We go back over here. There we go. It did trigger it. And come back in here and take a look at what it received. It received that name. I don't know if you remember. We can go back and look, but Matthew Schaefer, it sent it to that, and it sent the message. And if we were to look at my email, there it is. So in that case, we kicked it off with the Python script, and it came through the flow, and then that's the output for that. So, I mean, that's just a very simple example. Another example I have is I'm actually going to I'm going to kick off the Python script. It's going to pass in a joke keyword, a keyword for a type of joke. And then it's going to actually go into my Dataverse and match that this is where I've got that contains. It's going to look for that keyword, and then if it finds it, it's going to create a nice HTML formatted email showing missing something here. Put those in here because I want it in the email. I want it to actually show what keyword was passed in. We'll go back to the Python script and kick that one off. I know for a fact I have a joke about scarecrows, so I can send that. Need to also, again, give it an email address because this is going to send an email with the joke, or any jokes that matches that. Okay, go back, take a look at the actual run. This one does take a few minutes because there's a lot. It's doing the Dataverse lookup. We'll know it's done when that. But you can see that it did trigger it. That Python, we ran the Python script, and that flow is actually running right now. So we'll be able to see. I passed in the keyword scarecrow. Python communicated, passed it in. It's doing the lookup now, and when it finishes, if it finds any jokes that have keyword scarecrow in it. Yeah, so now it finally finished. And here's, let me drag the email, and here's the email. So, scarecrow didn't have to be just it found that it looks in the setup column. Does the match on the setup column. So it finds scarecrows. You notice it's not case sensitive. So I typed scarecrow, but it found lowercase scarecrow in there, and then there you are with that. So some other examples, and I've used it for this, is you can do a lot more, get a lot more information out of Dataverse. I mean, that was kind of just a silly example, but you can have it go and get all kinds of data with Dataverse, and then imagine your flow does something with the data that it has in Dataverse, and needs to do some more manipulation with the Python. Then with Python script, then you can churn all of that, let all that heavy processing happen with Python, and then Python also has the capability at the end. It could send an email, like if you were going to email some stakeholders with this complicated report that you kicked off with Python, got all the data out of the flow, out of the Dataverse table from Power Platform, and then did some back-end processing more with the Python, and then sent a final report to your stakeholders also with Python. That was just a code snippet. I wanted to include this so when you have the slides, you can play around with this yourself if you want. That was the one that we just did. One of the things that you should point out is when you're using that trigger for those flows, you want to build some client secrets and client ID in your Azure AD. What do they call it? Intra now, but you need to make sure that you handle all of that, because you don't want to expose too much in the actual flow itself. And then also when you're creating the Python script, use environment variables, because some of the things that makes this run is you have to pass it in client ID, secret ID, tenant ID, things like that. But if you put those environment variables, then you could actually then share your Python code, and no one could they could see how it works, but you wouldn't have exposed any of your your secret IDs or anything like that. Then let's see. Yeah, that was that. Lessons learned, same thing. Don't embed authentication in flow trigger definitions. You add try-catch blocks on both sides, not only in Python, but you can have try-catch over on your the concept of using scopes, using try-catch except in your flows. Python file watchers, keep JSONs clean, and then I recommend you start out small, just like my very first example. I'm just doing something very small, sending in a few things and seeing it work, and then you can continue to build on that. And that's it. I appreciate it. Just got a little concluding video. This is what I should have played when it was failing, when the other part was failing.
Whoa, that's actually working?
Triggered straight from Python. Smooth as silk.